Mainframe Film and Television Production Studios, Media International Productions Studio, and Clink Projects. He was also the technical consultant to the Open Society Initiative for West Africa, SIWA, that conceptualized, designed, and built the West Africa Democracy Radio as a hub for radio stations in West Africa. As a researcher in human language technology, he works in adapting information and communication technologies to make them usable in African languages. He partnered with Microsoft to localize Microsoft Windows and Office to Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba, the three most widely spoken Nigerian languages, beginning with Windows Vista. From Windows 8, the languages come bundled with the operating system. It teaches artificial intelligence as an adjunct in the University of Lagos, University of Ibadan, and Afe Babalola University at Dokiti, all in Nigeria. He was a research fellow at Innovative Computing Inc. Of Cleveland, Ohio, United States, where he worked adapting psychoacoustic principles for audio compression using cellular automata transform. And after a successful career of many years as a broadcast engineer in the Nigerian Public Service, Tunde set up Tiwa Systems in 1985 with the aim of bringing the benefits of digital technology and its accompanying information revolution to Nigeria. Apart from providing consultancy and other services in both commercial and scientific computing, with Tiwa, he pioneered desktop publishing in Nigeria by transforming the operations of such publishing houses as Spectrum Books, Evans Brothers, Oni Bonoje, and many others between Bonoje, I beg your pardon. All right, and many others between 1985 and 1990. He also pioneered non-linear editing of video and 3D animation in the Nigerian motion picture industry by installing the first personal animation recorder and NLE suites for production houses, including Media International, Clink Studios, Mainframe Productions, and Shell Production Nigeria, and many others in the 1990s. This led to his various commissions for the design of most of the pioneering private TV stations in Nigeria, including Channels Television, MITV, and Africa Independent Television, where he designed, supplied, installed, and commissioned the stations between 1994 and 1997. He was the technical consultant to the Open Society Initiative for West Africa for the design and implementation of West Africa Democracy Radio. And Tunde Adegbola started African Languages Technology Initiative in 2002 for the purpose of developing the necessary resources that will facilitate the engagement of information and communication technology ICT in African languages. He is currently the director of Alt-I, which is located in Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. Alt-I was set up to increase the relevance of technology aimed at inserting African uses into the agenda of the knowledge age by addressing ICT as a possible factor of language endangerment. Also, Adegbola developed a keyboard able to deal with the peculiarities of the orthography of Yoruba, which is a tone language. Using the English keyboard layout for Yoruba could be quite difficult because various Yoruba words may be written with the same consonants and vowels, distinguished merely by application for diacritical marks to indicate tones. Thus, it sometimes takes many keystrokes to realize a single Yoruba character when using the keyboard, English keyboard layout. To accomplish the same result with fewer, more comfortable keystrokes, Tunde made a keyboard without the letters Q, Z, X, C, and B, which Yoruba does not use, except for certain dialects in which they use V, Z, and C in the diagram. CH is he repositioned the vowels, which are high frequency, to more prominent spots and added tone marks and other symbols, creating a more appropriate Yoruba language keyboard layout. Now he is working on speech recognition to convert spoken Yoruba into text. Tunde was born 1 August 1955. His father, the late Bishop Adeolu Adegbola, was tutored by missionaries and was one of the first in his hometown to receive formal Western education. Tunde Adegbola is married to Inyang Ni India from Inkari in Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Adegbola fights for the resurgence of Nigerian languages and their adoption in mainstream technology. He also advocates for education that actually solves local problems. With a round of applause, even though he just stepped up a few minutes ago, please let's celebrate Dr. Tunde Adegbola. And right about now, we just going to be moving straight to the conversation moderated by, as we will be calling her up now, and please, I'd like to celebrate her. Please help me celebrate Olanike Onimisi. I come up to the podium. Yes, she's going to be the lead moderator. By the power vested in me at the MC today, I will name her the lead moderator, while I will be the co-moderator for today's conversation. Please, let's celebrate with a standing ovation, please. I'd like to indulgence with a standing ovation with a round of applause. Please, let's welcome Dr. Tunde Adegbola as he comes up to the stage for the conversation. Please, let's not stop clapping. Let's not stop clapping. Let's continue.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And I'm so pleased to be here. It's such a huge privilege to be in the same space with Dr. Adegbola, who from now I'll just address him as Daddy Adegbola. Really? No, please, leave me alone. Just leave me alone, Adeg. All right, please. I want to crave everyone's indulgence so that this can be more intimate. If those sitting at the back can just come forward a bit, so that when you are contributing to this conversation, Daddy would not have to be wondering who is saying what. Please, can we just come closer so that we can enjoy this conversation? And it's not going to be limited to myself and Mr. Kayode. We would like, people in this beautiful space to contribute now and again. Thank you. Please, let's start. Okay. It's like we're doing a podcast.
All right. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I will say that it's such an honor to be seated here. I mean, it's amazing.
Same here.
I think the first place to start will be the obvious. 70 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 70 years. How does that feel?
Well, when the guests here were being introduced, there was an obvious a person who was obviously not introduced, and that is my friend Anjola Abodering, who we started playing music together at age 12.
Wow.
And he turned 70 a few months ago. And I'm still trying to understand what this whole 70 thing is about. Because when I looked at people who are above 70, I just looked at them in awe, and I thought there was some magic that when you crossed that mark and you became 70, something earth-moving will happen. I'm still waiting for it. But I just look back and give thanks to God. I give glory to God that I'm still here. In a number of the events that have attended this, my 70th birthday, this theme of a polymath keeps running, and I always ask to remind myself and remind everybody, as we say in Yoruba, àpọ́nlé ni foreman, ẹnìkan ò lè ṣe ẹni mẹ́rin. But if I'm to give a theme to this, my birthday celebrations, it is blessed to be alive. Mm-hmm. Because around the time I turned 60, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Wow.
And I went through a long, tedious treatment, which altered my body, altered my mind in ways that anticipated. I was warned that all these things are going to happen, and they all happened, and they were all manageable. And I'm here today, still standing. For about 2-3 years, I had to go around with a walking stick. But as I grew older, I outgrew it.
Wow.
So I'm blessed to be alive, and I give all the glory to God.
Thank God. Yes. Okay. So I guess the should I say the exhibition that was brought to us as kind of exposed a lot of things that during your practice, and it has also helped some of us who did not know what those things look like. I must visit that site, to really feel and touch it and say, oh yes, I probably lived somewhere earlier than the 80s, to see some of these things. So while you were speaking, I think what struck me most was the fact that you've not been able to speak much about education. I caught it because I'm very passionate too about education. We met sometime in January at a curriculum development workshop where we're talking about how relevant is the curriculum, especially in the primary schools. That is the foundational level of education that other levels build on. That how relevant are the things that are being taught, to the pupils, and how relevant or how are those things that they learn in school linked to their everyday life. And that the way he gave that understanding of what is local, because it's under the African Indigenous Knowledge Research Network, and he talks about what is local. And even during this exhibition expose, you also spoke about the Ayolokmo, to teach I think computer and even AI and all of that. And those were part of the things that he also mentioned at that workshop on how more indigenous, artifacts should be embedded in education. And I see how passionate you are about bridging that formality of education and what is indigenous to us. So my question just goes this way, and I hope it will help to let you air your view about this very critical matter that concerns Nigeria and kind of hits me differently when I think about it. So some 3 years ago, the federal government said that pupils should be taught using native language in the primary schools up till primary 6. And this year, there's been a call for reversal. That no, you can't, no more local languages to teach. And when they made that, when they passed that bill in 2022, it was to promote the Nigerian culture and then have that children learn, because I believe that we learn better in our first language. English is not our first language. And I think it has really helped. I mean, having done my own research too, in public schools specifically, I see how they assimilate things better when they are spoken to in Yoruba. I'm talking about the Southwest. So now in this year, in February, there's been a declaration that they want a reversal, that English should be the language of instruction. Meanwhile, 3 years ago, it was so strongly passed that English shouldn't be used as language of instruction. So how do you feel about that, especially with your passion for bridging that gap between tradition and innovation? Let me put it that way. So formal education and indigenous knowledge. How do you feel about these contrasting ideas by the federal government?
One of the things that I've noticed about us is that we like shortcuts. We always want to find a way of cutting corners and getting results. That in the called chap chap. That's an attitude we have, and it pushes us to do some really stupid things.
Okay.
There is no account of any people in the world that became great having adopted a foreign language. All the countries of the world that teach their children science and technology in their mother tongues, all have achieved industrial breakthrough. So they became industrial societies in the industrial age. all of us struggling to either, first of all, learn Portuguese so that we can learn science, not one has achieved industrial breakthrough. Now that is breakthrough in the industrial age, in the age in which we convert natural resources into energy and use the energy to do things and build cities and all that. Now, we are moving from the industrial age into the information age.
Right.
Language is the basis of information.
Right.
No language, no information. Every piece of information passes through language. Now, if language played such a role in the industrial age, how much more role will it play in the information age? So, it can be said without any possibility of being wrong that the decision that government took is wrong. Because if we succeed with learning science and technology in a foreign language, we will be the first. And we are not behaving as a people that can be first. We are doing it just... Now, I mean, let's just look at the logic. Every year, a new set of our children get to school age.
Right.
So what we then do is we take them to school and we say, children, we are going to teach you English. Is get tabiwa. That was how my father learned English. Yeah, he told me that. Is get tabiwa. And then take another word, what it is. And then after 2 years, the children now understand that language enough. So they now start teaching them what they are supposed to be taught. Immediately, you see that it is faulted. It means that children are delayed. The education is delayed because you first of all are teaching them the language in which they are going to learn. Now, normally what happens in societies where education is seen as important is that the language in which a child is to learn has been taught from home. Now, when parents started noticing that their children are not doing well because they didn't have the language in which they are going to learn, so parents started speaking to their children in English from home. And what type of English? Open the door down. I cannot come and go and die. Sure, you won't eat your food, name. That is the tight-fitting, borrowed robes in which we hope we are going to engender development. So, there were, we don't have any result, any records of results to hold on to in what we are doing. Yet, I, that I'm sitting before you, am a testimony of education in Yoruba. When I was taught, my first introduction to arithmetic was to ED, Ateyo, not tens and units. I was taught mathematics in ED, being tens, Ayo, units. That's the way I was taught mathematics. And the ED Ateyo mathematics was good enough for me to become an engineer, to become a computer scientist, to become an information scientist, to be a researcher, applying mathematics to explain language. So, and beyond my own single example, there's the example of the a 6-year education experiment performed by Professor Babs Fafunwa, in which he had 2 streams of classes. Class 1A, everything taught in Yoruba, English taught as a second language. Class 1B, everything taught in English, Yoruba taught as a language. And it was noticed that the dropout rate in the class 1A was lower than the dropout rate in class 1B and lower than the national dropout rate. So already there was a result there, even as they went from primary 1 to primary 2 to primary 3 until they got to primary 6. And of course, it made sense. Children who couldn't cope with understanding English just dropped out of school. But in this case, there was no basis for dropping out of school because you are being taught in a language you already understand, haven't learned it from home.
So that makes it learning even more enjoyable.
Exactly, and it's not challenging. And these students were there was a research, a tracer research, in which they were followed to secondary schools, and they were now found that they did better in English. The ones that were taught in Yoruba did better in English in the secondary school, and they went on and went through university. I met one of the pupils in that class as a professor in the university. So it is one of the most unfortunate things that can happen to people is for them to be colonized, because when you look up to when you see modernization as being like somebody else, that's a problem. Because modernity is rooted in change. When you say something is modern, it means it's different from what you are used to. Now, when you now think everything that you have not done before is modern, including the behavior of some people in a place that is totally different from yours, then you see you are in trouble. That's what causes people to use fork to drink gari.
Right. Right. Okay. Learning mathematics in ED
Ateyo.
and Ateyo, you know,
Thank you. So just recruit a bunch of Englishmen to come and teach them English. And in 1 year, they will have learned enough English. But go and Google Ahmadu Bello or Tafawa Balewa and listen to the kind of English they spoke. Because they were taught by the owners of the language. All these trained by London train that, that we are now making a virtue of. So as the value just keeps going down, just keeps going down, just keeps going. Whereas if what we did in 1955 was to translate science books into Yoruba, not much, and Yoruba and other Nigerian languages, not much has changed in basics, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, to have warranted any major review of those translations. So we would have done that at once and we'll be benefiting from it over. But now what we do is every time we have children, they become 3, 4, 5, say, children, come, let me teach you English so that you can be able to learn. To the extent that even in the universities, we learn Yoruba history in English. We write PhD thesis in Igbo in English. I think Hausa is the only one that is excused from that absurdity. So my position about it is go and repent. Go ye and sin no more. Otherwise,
Interesting.
get the same results.
Still be where we are.
Funny enough, I also caught that part where he said fear, and I jotted that down to say I will ask him. But this time around, I'm just curious. You are a musician, you are a language technologist, you are into even broadcasting. You're a broadcast journalist yourself. You are
an engineer.
An engineer. You're just into all of this space. So my question is like a 2-in-1 question. When you were young, was it just that you wanted to was it that you had all of these in mind? Or was it that you had it as you were going? Or was it just a matter of talent, that you were talented in this? I could do all of this, I could do all of that, and I was going to do that.
Well, knowledge is whole.
Knowledge is whole.
Knowledge is knowledge. Let's take music, for example. Most situations in the world, music is studied in a faculty of arts. Well, that's not the whole truth.
Yeah.
It is the aesthetics that came out of the vibration of air molecules, which is better studied in the Department of Physics that is studied in the Faculty of Arts. So when you look at music, there's science in it, there's engineering in it. When I was 15, we were told to pick subjects in Methodist High School, Ibadan. That school at the toll gate. You were told to pick subjects. So I was a school organist. So I picked physics, I picked mathematics, and picked music. And I was told you can't do music and mathematics. You can't do music and physics because one is art, one is science. I wanted to get to understand music better. And it was a sad day for me. And I went to the hostel sad, and I was thinking, so I can't study music and study physics. Then around midnight, it occurred to me, who makes electronic organs? So I said, cool, I'm armed. So next morning, after assembly, after playing the organ at the assembly, I went to the staff room. I've not met the lady since we left, so I won't mention her name. I then went to her and I said, "Excuse me, what we were talking about yesterday, ma? Who makes electronic organs? Because that's the kind of thing I want to become, the person who makes electronic organs."
Wow.
I think the person will need to know music and also know engineering. I said, "Oh, Adegbola, you are always asking hard questions. Just go to your class and go and listen to what you are taught today." And I was sad.
Day 2 of sadness.
And I went to my class and I accepted not studying music, but I kept struggling at home. Angela and I struggled. When I go to his house in Okeado, we do the best we can. Then when I registered to do a PhD in information science, and the subject, the material I was studying Yoruba language in information science, because I studied Yoruba language as an information system. That's what I did for my PhD.
Wow.
I thought, yeah, I got it back. My teacher. And when he was he was doing postgraduate in theology, the area of theology that he was studying is ethics. He was looking at ethics. He was studying ethics. By studying ethics, he had to understand economics. So he started studying economics. And many years later, one day my father in his white cassock went to Guardian newspapers and presented an article he wrote on the Nigerian economy to be published. And the person he met looked at it and said, "One of your church members wrote it." He said, "No, I wrote it." A priest wrote this. So that's the pedigree from which I come. I see knowledge as a whole. I believe the reason why we look at things like this is chemistry, this is biology, is because it is not in the nature of knowledge. It is a result of the limitation of our cognitive abilities as human beings. So we pick the ones that we find easier. Well, for me, I've just been a serial. It's like I do one, I go on. I do one. It's like been there, done that. So, very few people know that I was a performing musician. Wow. That I have vinyl records to my credit.
Wow.
My friend here, we played together. We were both playing for Tunde Adegbola. He was playing saxophone, I was playing keyboard.
Wow.
But these days, people don't know that. So I'm a serial. I think they said. So they call some people serial polygamists. I married this subject and then divorce that one, marry the next one.
Well, maybe not divorce.
Well,
but just seeing how applicable one is into another, and then it keeps expanding.
Yeah. I just find that, to the glory of God, that whatever I'm exposed to, I seek to understand, and whatever I understand, I can explain to other people.
Great. You know, when he was reading the citation, I was just like, I attend all these inaugurals and people's events, and then they're reading the citations, and I'm like, how did this person achieve all this?
Yeah.
You know, it's so amazing. How did, in this, what, I don't know if it's the skull protector, but whatever, also being a biker,
Yeah.
you know, so you could see a lot of seriousness and this carefree, I just want to live. Well, I just sat there and said, this daddy lived. you know, because while he was doing the scientific things, he was also, you know, doing things that applied more to the humanities, and at the same time, he tried to enjoy himself. But the youth we have nowadays just wants to enjoy without putting in the hard work. And understanding your, teaching AI. So I'm going to AI now. You said something about what we call AI. So maybe we can have a better understanding of what is AI. And now, I'm in the university system, and you give a basic assignment to a student that requires just look at Mr. Kayode, watch one or two of his presentations, and just determine what kind of that probably maybe 2 paragraphs. I'm talking about the simplest basic assignment. And then you then find that most students don't even want to think anymore. They just want to go to ChatGPT, and that's also under artificial intelligence. So I was just wondering if, because mine is still, you'll see that I'm tending more towards education. And for some people, they feel that the AI, this AI age is diminishing humanity. And so I just feel that we would like to hear what you have to say about AI, especially in education, and what your thoughts are and what solutions can be prescribed by you on how students can better apply AI in education without being totally dumb, I'm sorry to use that word, and can't even come up with something organic.
Well, let's start by trying to understand what artificial intelligence is. From the word artificial intelligence. Artificial, with its roots in art, is anything created by human hands. Cognate with it is the word artifact. An artifact is something that says, a human passed this place. No, this is not natural. This thing, trees don't grow like this. A human made this tree grow this way. That's what an artifact is. Intelligence is a lot more difficult to define, but in my work, in my engagement of artificial intelligence, in my foray into cognitive psychology and cognitive science, intelligence to me is like a facility for knowing what is not obvious. The easiest way by which human beings know is that they encounter something and they remember it. But that basic works well, but it's limited. First limitation is there's a lot to remember, a lot more to remember than you have capacity for. Next is, if everything you know by encounter, what about those things that you are better not encountered? The situations in which experience is the best teacher fails, in which maybe somebody else's experience is better. Right. Because the best way to know that snake bites are not good for you is not to get one. So to address that, you then need to be able to get information that is not available from information that is available. And the way to do that is by the application of intelligence. Okay. So that's what intelligence is. And when computers came, they remember everything we tell them. And you go back and say, what did I tell you? And it gives you. Now, when computers now went into artificial intelligence, what now happened is that we are now able to get from computers what we didn't tell it. computer is able to make inferences, either by deduction, by induction, by abduction, or whichever way. They're able to make inference. So that's the major thing a major thing in artificial intelligence, that we have not got to a point where we can make the computer infer what we have not told it from what we've told it. Now, with the development of what we now refer to as generative AI, that is artificial intelligence that can create artifacts. Coming in a way that the intelligence that the computer is deploying now is even sometimes more, better than what we humans do. So there are issues to look at carefully, and also because most of the artificial intelligence that we are deriving from machines are inferred from what human beings made available to the machine. So whatever biases, whatever errors, whatever inadequacies that attend what we pass to the computer will be amplified and
fed back
to us. And that's why one of the things that ChatGPT does to you is that it hallucinates. It tells you what doesn't exist. You say, I'm looking for a publication that they say, that publication was written by so and so. I say, how come I don't know this publication? And then when you look at it, but the thing is honest though. If you push it well, you say, actually, I'm sorry.
Yes, yeah.
Because I once asked ChatGPT, I said, what is the tribe? It defined tribe. I said, So is Yoruba a tribe? He said, yes, it's a tribe. I said, is English a tribe? He said, English is not a tribe. I said, what's the difference? He said, yeah, I'm sorry. I said, but you already said that. He said, I'm sorry. He said, I'm sorry 8 times.
Wow.
So you must learn to push ChatGPT to say, I'm sorry. Otherwise, you will fail. Because it will tell you what doesn't exist.
That's right.
Because that's the way it's built. Now, on the other side, is biases and all that. When it amplifies biases, then it can produce results that are not unfair to certain categories of people. Okay, if you even before ChatGPT, if you Googled the word grandmother, you'll find that you will not see one that looks like yours. You say, give me images of grandmother. You are not likely to see one that looks like yours, and that's because African grandmothers don't feature that much on the internet. So if Google finds like 1,000 grandmothers and chooses to give you, out of those 1,000, maybe 5 look like yours, and chooses to give you 20, the chances of getting one of yours into that group is very, very slim. So these are issues we need to address, and there's a whole field developing now described as responsible AI, which people are looking at the side effects, the parts of it that are not really positive, and we all need to look at it from that point of view. We shouldn't make it, we shouldn't give it the level of value it doesn't have. We should know its limitations, and whenever we are using artificial intelligence, we must use it aware of its limitations and contain it within its limitations, and learn how to tell when it is hallucinating. Now, in education, you see, every technological innovation always presents two options. It can either kill certain things or enliven that thing, whatever it is. So to deploy these technologies in ways that improve rather than reduce is important. So one possibility is that artificial intelligence can make students so lazy that they do not exercise their intellect anymore. And meanwhile, the reason why we say things like academic discipline is because the whole process is that of engaging
Mental
in
rigor.
rigor, disciplining yourself, and entering into cerebral activities, because you learn to do by doing. When you subject your faculty to work in a particular way, it tends to get better doing that kind of thing. Just like athletes, an athlete who wants to run for all these Olympics every 4 years. Somebody runs for 4 years just because he wants to run for 9 seconds in the 100 meters. So you learn to do by doing. So when we now allow artificial intelligence to
Do the thinking.
to do the thinking, then the capacity to discipline our faculty to produce high quality results reduces. And we are now reduced to the feeble results that artificial intelligence can give in certain things. So then the other alternative is to use artificial intelligence to remove the manual labor in the process. You now get the information and now sit down, distill the information, mix it, synthesize, produce new things. Because if you were to sit down, read a whole book just to get one line of a gem, that's not very efficient. So you can use artificial intelligence to improve the efficiency of your work rather than using artificial intelligence to improve your laziness.
Right. One question, sir. So do you feel lucky that you had done the bulk of the academic rigor before the age of AI?
Well, in a sense, I feel fortunate that that some of the things I've done, I had to apply certain levels of rigor. But the card index with which my father did his PhD, I still have it.
Wow.
Little cards where he writes a point, then puts it and then puts a metal thing through it so that it doesn't. It's a box, a wooden box, and then he puts gathers, topics. And each time I look at, I just imagine, how did he do this thing? I remember I was still young then. I remember there was an issue because he did his PhD, it had to do with Yoruba in the University of Bristol. And the professor in the University of Bristol said, no, this is not how to write Yoruba. You should tone mark it. And he said, if you don't tone mark it, we'll give you a master's and you can go. So I remember I had to bring the whole thing back to and sat down. And these were days of, I don't know whether anybody here know what is called gestetna.
What's that, sir?
It's called cyclostyling machine.
Okay.
When you type on a typewriter, you don't type on paper. You type on a stencil. You put it in the stencil. Then you now take some thick ink and roll the thing, and then the ink goes on, and then the holes that the typewriter make, the ink seeps through and stains paper, and that's your writing. So my father had to do the stencil and then took, do you know what a school pen is?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you know that
Yes,
one.
sir.
A kalamu. I had to that one. It's a pen in which you have to dip the pen into the ink to write. And when the ink dries, you dip again. Not a fountain pen in which you just write and the pen. So he'll use the school pen without ink to cut the stencil with the tone marks of it. And if he does it wrong, so you can't repair it. So you can't do backspace. So I keep imagining how my father produced this. My father's PhD is something like this. How anybody produced that with card index, with Get Stetner and all these kind of things. And so even though I'm feeling blessed that I was able to do some rigor, there were greater rigors that I didn't do. So it's a case of ayen lo anto, and we just have to. Ayen lo anto means the world is going and we are following.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is that is where we as humans will always find ourselves. We will always have to respond to what our environment presents to us.
Yes. I won't lie. I get really pissed off sometimes because, I mean, I'm sure that even I've not gone through the rigor that you went through. I like, I know. But you then see students, things that you had to read books. And the fortunate thing is that most of those books are available on the internet. They have ebooks. That is easier to just read on you don't have to open big books.
You
on
have
the table.
audiobooks. Can read it to you.
You read it to you and all of that. But even that is a problem. So you find them presenting essays, their mini essays to you, and there will be references. And then I'm looking for these references. I can't find it anywhere.
It's hallucination.
So what do you say to that? Because I sent the link to some of my groups in UI, and I don't know if they are logged on, but if not, I will send the recording to them. So I just wish you could say something to them on this, should I say double matter of AI? Because it has its pro and it has its cons. Is there but then they do more, that is detrimental than the positive side of it. And so I'm wondering if there's
recently I was assigned a student, and he sent me his first draft. I said, wow, this is wonderful writing. Oh, this guy is good. Then I invited him to the first meeting and asked the question. And he went, D. I said, D with this. Where's the difference? D and this one? No. We have to. But then, there's a Yoruba saying, that the solution to a problem lies in the problem. There are ways that even the technology can tell that this is not correct. So there are facilities you can use to, first of all, check these things. So that's where it starts for students. Know that you can fool some people some of the time, but you cannot fool everybody all the time. There are people who, the more lecturers know that there's a difference between beautiful writing and DDD, then always invite your students to come. There's when you do a PhD, you go and you present, even though you've written, you go and present it. What is that? Defense. Viva. Viva voce. Yeah. Active voice. Go and use your voice to say what you claim you have found, that you have written. There's no other way to engage a person that claims to know something and that will take the person down to the fundamentals other than the Viva Voce. And that's why, despite all the good things we say about writing, its portability and all that, speech is still the preferred mode of human communication. That's why we are here. Right. We came to speak. We all came here to speak. I could have written all these things and we could have written in the and it does happen. People have interviewed me from afar. They send me questions. I write the answer. They publish it. But this is who we are. Anything that I say here is superior to anything I write to you, because it could be somebody else's idea that I am pushing around. But anything that comes from within me, extempore, you are asking questions, I'm responding to it. So lecturers should make time to interact with students. And students should be aware that you can be caught.
All right, I think my next question is still hinged on that, the serial thing that you did, from moving from one level to another. And thankfully you made reference to music, because, and of course, I love the way you also enlightened us about the aesthetic and the science. Because what happened to me initially too, when I was young, for my undergraduate studies, was I entered the Polytechnic Ibadan to say I want to do music tech, and everything that was in my head was the aesthetic, the do re mi fa sol la ti do, the interval, the harmonies and the melodies. Not up until when they said let's do technical drawing, and for once I was thinking technical drawing music. How does it work? Not until they said material science, and then we had to go to physics department to go and learn material science. Then we did woodwork. Then we did acoustics, all physics. Then we did instrument fabrication. And I'm wondering the applicability about this. So that's the one question. So my question is like a 3-in-1 question. Number one, the applicability of the things we learn in school. How do we bridge that wide gap? Secondly, for you as a person, was it a decision you made to say, I was going to learn this, and after I learned this, I would do this, and after this, I would do that? And while you were also learning all of that, how were you able to merge all of that together as different working parts?
Well, let me start by saying we don't seem to understand the purpose of education in Nigeria. We think education is something to give you a title. Like you become doctor, professor, or you say you have BSc, you have BA, you have MA. We kind of think that is what education is for. But basically, education is empowerment to transform society. It's empowerment to make a change. You know enough, you have enough skills to make changes. And that's why our education does not give us sufficient capacity to make a change. When I graduated in electrical engineering in 1978, I got this job with Ogun State Radio, OGBC. And it dawned on me one night that if this radio is faulty, I can't repair it. And I have BSc electrical engineering.
Wow.
And it bothered me. So, next day, I went to town. I went to those people called Radionics. I said, I want to learn. I said, you? I said, yes. I said, you will buy Amala for your seniors. I said, I will buy. That's those who got there before me. All these social things about it. But they respected me a bit, and later on I earned the respect. So when the man started teaching me about color coding of resistors, it didn't take time before I noticed that, this is the same process, this is the same order as the colors of the rainbow. Roy G. Beeve. Okay. So I didn't have to memorize that anymore because I already knew it and I was able to apply it. And they were surprised that after 2 days you are able to tell the value of a resistor. And that's what the education I already had did. Now I was going into trying to apply it. So by the time I spent 3-4 months, I was pretty comfortable to the extent that all the time I spent in Abeokuta, I was the only person that could repair an electronic organ.
Wow.
My original question to my teacher at age 15, I was repairing all the churches in Abeokuta. I repaired the electronic organs because BSc. So what? BSc, you can't repair your radio. What kind of BSc is that? And there are people, I tell my friends, they like calling us engineers engineer. And I say, you know why we call ourselves engineer? Because we have nothing other than engineer to show for our engineering. If you have done a major engineering project, whether you are called engineer or not, doesn't matter. But if you graduate in engineering and you are manufacturing pure water and selling and making money and you are comfortable, you now think back, 4 years studying Rongakunte and all this hard mathematics. So, I'm engineer. So when they call you engineer, you say, at least that is that is evidence that you went through to school. You can't show your evidence of going to school by transforming society. So these are some of the things we need to look critically at. What kind of education do we give our young people? And as educators, we should have some bit of guilt. We are graduating these young people. They are getting out. Skills. They are not getting jobs. And we don't think it has any reflection on us. We say, at least we have done our bit. It remains for them to. I think there is a need to look critically at all this. And it goes back to the earlier question you asked. In what language are they learning? I always give this example of, I was taught engineering. One of the concepts I was taught in engineering is called entropy. I never understood it, but I crammed it and I passed. Then one day I was consulting a dictionary of modern Yoruba science and something like that. And I went and saw entropy. Idaru. And all the thing I was taught that, entropy is a measure of how disorderly something is.
Wow.
Oh, God. So I always give the example again. Say something is poison. Poison. Just poison. What does it mean? It's just a label. But when you say, majele, toba tije oni jeli.
Wow.
It will be your last supper. So you see and we throw all that away. And we now say, how are these students? The values that have already been pumped into them as a result of the evolution of the language over eons. The values that the language has acquired and that society expects you to just pass the language to your children and they acquire the value all along. Now you go and take the values that some other people packed into their own language and you now end up with Omana na anama. Iya iya. And no, I had that dog. Yeah, in a woof woof here, in a woof woof there. Woof woof what? Bo la janke. So in England, maybe the dogs go woof woof, but in Nigeria, bo la janke. So you now see cognitive dissonance.
Right.
The things that already exist in the environment that you just need cues to link, and then you get the whole of. Meanwhile, this old MacDonald had a farm that the 8-year-old girl was babbling. It has meaning. MacDonald is a Scottish name. It is the equivalent of English Donaldson. It is the equivalent of Irish O'Donnell.
Wow.
So when you say old MacDonald had a farm, you know already, north, where they do agric. So already it has taught British geography. It's taught British onomastic naming system. Just by singing old MacDonald had a farm. But the Yoruba child now is singing Omanana Ana. Whereas there are nursery rhymes like Morebo Koko, Mokbayekeye, Mokpakfe Kafe, Momu fun nono, nono lai jei, Momu foloja, Oju senu kalo, Odijo keje, Wọ́n rán ni sílé, wọ́n lọ́lọ́jà kú, which teaches discretion. You don't go out into the fields and hunt birds indiscriminately, or hunt rodents indiscriminately. So when he got home and gave to Nana, which is mother, I said, this is not to be eaten. Mumu for Nana, I gave some to Nana like Mumu foloja. So I gave the one that Nana said they don't eat. I gave to Oloja. Oloja gobbled it up. 7 days later, Oloja was gone.
Whoa.
So discretion that taught that this one is maje ele. You lost in that. You are not teaching Omanana Anapa. When I was a child, I was taught in geography. I was taught winter solstice. I was taught summer solstice. I was taught equinox. I didn't know what they mean. Now, I went to England. I was maybe about 1920. I went to England to do some work. Then one afternoon, I came back from town tired, and I just put my back on the bed with my feet still on the floor, maybe about 6 o'clock, just to rest before I went for dinner, and slept off and woke up. And I saw the clock, 9 o'clock. And there was sunlight. I rushed. I went to get dressed, and I saw that people were just moving leisurely. I said, aren't you people going to work? Aren't you? They said, no, it's 9 o'clock. I said, 9 o'clock. It was 9 o'clock in the night. I have never seen the sun in the night in my life, which is where equinox and summer solstice and winter solstice came from. Whereas I should have been taught about Orun Tomosoko, the deceptive daylight that suddenly disappears. And the little boy who was on the farmstead to get home now finds himself stranded. And these are issues in bringing up enculturation rather than acculturation, bringing human beings up within the realities of their culture. And it is your culture, that your environment, your ecosystem, that you are called to transform so that you can live better. But once you import the realities from other climes, you can only make use of those after you have mastered your own, and you now go into kind of a comparative analysis of, okay, this is how we do it. But when you bombard 15-year-old with summer solstice and winter solstice, things that never ever experienced. Later on, I experienced sunset around 1 a.m. in Siberia. I was in Siberia for 1 week. On the average, the sun sets around 1 and rises again by 3 a.m. I didn't know that was possible. But these people's reality, that is what taught them, that is what drove them to learn about summer solstice and winter solstice and equinox. Equinox is when there's equal day and equal length of day, equal length of night. Summer solstice when the thing is displaced, that you had more longer hours of darkness, and the times when you have longer hours of light. Here in Ibadan, you can hardly tell. Once in a while, I say, I let it lale. But because we are people of the equator, we don't notice these things. But people who live closer to the poles, they will notice it.
So that knowledge wasn't relevant.
It wasn't relevant, or even if it is relevant as a kind of extension comparison. Oh, know the one that will make you survive this environment. Know the ones that you can see to improve the human condition in your environment.
That's right.
And as long as we see westernization as the same thing as modernization, and as long as active people have to prove that they are good citizens, so this is the so-called offshore. Because if it's not relevant to them, they won't publish it. Whether it's relevant to you or not, it really doesn't matter to them.
Wow.
So, and it is denigrating ourselves that we cannot develop journals that address our issues, and we can depend on them to evaluate our academics.
So just two things now. You were singing some nursery rhymes, and there's this popular one too, this black sheep. I don't know if you can help us with the history of all of that.
It's a blah 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 shit.
And the second part for me is this cultural activism. Where did it come from? Where was the breaking point from you? What made you come to this realization that something has to be done in terms of instilling our own cultural value system in everything that we do?
Okay, let's start with blah blah. It is black sheep. The bar is the sound of a sheep. You know, it's all these nursery rhymes is to teach the children how their animals sound. There's a woof woof here and a woof there. Whereas there are nursery rhymes that tell us go la janke, bobo la guton, wo firi firi lojun rimu. You have all that. We have our own that deal with our environment. So black sheep. Have you any wool? Because they live in the temperate area of the world, they depend on the wool that sheep produce to make clothing. Make clothing that will insulate them from the. And they say, yes, sir. 3 bags full. One for the master, one for the dame, and one for the little girl. You know, nursery rhymes is reality coupled with nonsense, just to get children like the Moregbo Koko that I read. So there are these things. They are of relevance to the environment where they came from, and the further those environments are from ours, the lower the relevance they will be. So when somebody now travels, I was privileged to have traveled to the UK by ship once. It took a month. Now somebody traveled 1 whole month to come to your place and came to teach you blah blah black sheep. So what's the other question?
This cultural activism, where did it come from?
Okay. You see, I was fortunate to have grown in an environment where 90% of my father's staff were Europeans. They were his staff. They worked under him, and they looked up to him. They had respect for him, and their children, all of them, I think, all of them were younger than me. So I was like the leader of the pack. I was there. Yes, thank you. I was their go-to person. When their toys broke, their father would say, "Oh, take it to Tunde. Tunde will fix it." So that is how I grew up. I first heard about racism when I was in the university, when there was the Soweto massacre, that people were shot because they protested that we prefer to be taught in our language. So if you ever had Soweto massacre, that's what made this township Soweto popular. People protested, said, no, we don't want to be taught in a foreign language. We want to be taught in our own language. And it was so important for those who wanted to oppress them that they had to put down the protest drastically, and they shot young people. What they did there is what our government, the opposite of what our government has done by reversing that thing that you talked about. The people knew, and the people who were proposing training, teaching young people in Afrikaans, they knew it was their way of removing these people from their reality. Yes. And the people they wanted to do it to, the one understood. So they fought. I mean, in Nigeria, we wouldn't have fought. In fact, government will have said, I mean, there was even a government that invited the French to say, come and give us money. We'll be teaching our children French. This was during Abacha regime. They declared French as a second national language. So that because the French government offered some. So my upbringing was such that I had that innocence until I met this issue. And I said, language? It never left me. And that's how I ended up a language technologist.
Wow.
So please, we'll just be wrapping up shortly, but if you have your questions, please do note them down. We will be taking your questions after this conversation. And if you'd like to write them down, please kindly note them in a paper. One of us will be available to take them from you. Thank you.
Well, I've just been thinking after old McDonald and then Black Sheep, and then thinking of mathematics and understanding numbers in a fun, indigenous way. I just remembered, I don't know it very well, but there's this instead of 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, knock on the door, 5, 6, pick up sticks and all that. I know there's one any. Yeah, I don't know it very well, but it just came to me now. Please, sir, can you expatiate on it, please? Can you expatiate on it?
Yes, mnemonics. Any is one. Any be any. Eji be eji. Etan tagba. When you go to the market to buy yams, they are usually sold not in single pieces. Well, these days because of economy. But, you can even buy half now. But you buy ile. They put a few together. In those days, when they sold calabashes, they sell them in trials. Meta non tagba.
Tagba. So that even gives us kind of like a cultural history.
You see, this is the power of language. I told you before, this thing we call language, your reality, your history, where you are coming from, is all packed into it. So when a day, one affin day hero, we use it to bind thought. And also we use it to bind each other. The speakers of the language, because language is not only a means of communication, it is also a means of identity. Right. So in both senses, it is an ede, that with which you bind thought to make it concrete so that you can express it and pass it to the other person, and also which binds a people together. That's why the English are called English, the French are called French, the Igbo are called Igbo. You are described by that binds you together, that makes you you.
So on this AD, I'd like you to do an assessment test for us.
Please now. I'm sorry, but
please go on, sir.
Yeah, well, beyond that, so some of these things become antiquated, and you may not be able to relate to the realities. But at the end of the day, you see that, like he said, mnemonics, just rhymes that will make you remember it. Because what you want to do is make the child remember that it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or to 10. And once you get to 10, you can get all the other numbers. So you attach, and you know, okay, 1 to buckle my shoe. So what is buckle about? 1 and 2.
Shoe and 2.
Shoe and 2, okay. Rhyme.
Yes.
So, and all these literary and oratorial devices exist in all cultures, and one is not inferior to the other,
Right.
based on the realities in the environment. But somehow we just feel that anyone that is English is superior.
Okay, so to this Ede, you can have your Ede now, because I'm sorry to bring this in. When you said Ede, I think they
Ero.
thought Ero,
Yes.
and then Ede binds the people.
Yes.
And it just occurred to me that there are some places that you get to, and you want to say something, but because this person doesn't understand Yoruba, you are forced to say it in English, and so everybody knows the secret I wanted to pass, or the ofofo I want to do,
You see,
so it becomes hard.
It's even the fundamental is that person has untied himself from that Ede. Once you lose that language, once you don't have that Ede, you are not tied to the people you should be tied to. And the people you are not tied, you are now tied to by open the door down language. They notice, they say, what kind of string is this one bringing to tie us? I better take your own. So these are the kind of things you lose when you lose that tie. Apart from even talking secrets, it's supposed to be the way that you are able to express yourself naturally. And if you go and look at all those popular musicians these days, apart from maybe the Ashakes of this world who unashamedly sing in Yoruba,
Brimo.
2, 3 sentences, finish. They just be repeating it, and in Yoruba we say, "Torin ba ti tan lẹ́nu olórin ló máa ń di ayeye ayeye o 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 ayeye ayeye o." Mo ti sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan nígbà tó ti sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ kí ló tún bẹ́ẹ̀ bá kí ló tún sọ fún bóyá tó ti sọ bẹ́ẹ̀. So you see immediately pé kò sórin líbẹ̀ kò sórin bẹ́ẹ̀. And that's because the language is not there. You speak to a young person before he finishes the sentence, say she, because he too knows he hasn't expressed himself. Pressure tiwa. Maso Igbo, I mean so Igbo, Maso Yoruba, and the Yoruba to us now is pressure tiwa. So, orele odele, oroko odoko, owatoko oroko doko orokoto belongs nowhere.
Nowhere.
3, 4 sentences and finish. That's all the song. And whereas the songs are supposed to be purveyors of our history, they are supposed to be. I mean, just imagine the fact that in traditional Yoruba society, a child wakes up in the morning and says, "Ekaro Iyami," and the mother tells him his history. In Leo,
Sorry.
Ishola Opo, Opo Maja Lekan, Opo Kaja Karo Ka went to know about Jirawan Law. Telling him his history, telling her history. Now people are now they are now struggling. Why is it that of all the people that were taking slaves, why is it that Yoruba culture stayed? These people were told their history every morning, and they knew it, and they were able to project it to build a new life where they went. So it's small things. We think, a friend of mine, when I said, your children don't have Orik, he said, whatever Orik can do, my pastor can do to my children.
So religion is another factor.
So the pastor, your people are putting up hand.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a minute. Just to wrap it up now. Still on this AD, 2 things now. By the time I come to Ibadan, there's one type of Yoruba. By the time I get to Ondo State, there's one type of Yoruba again. By the time I get to Ijebu Ode, Ijebu Igbo, there are these types of Yoruba
Dialect.
So how do we reconnect that? How do we reconcile that? I recall the first time I went to Ondo State, I could not hear what they were saying, and yet it was still Yoruba. So how do we reconcile that in terms of AD, connecting everyone together?
We should not solve problems that don't exist. By the time I was in central London. They were speaking Cockney. When I got to Bishop Stortford, where my family lives, it's a different English. By the time I could get to Birmingham, I was moving up. They didn't put, they were pot. Pot this one here, pot this one there, rather than put. We are even arguing because if it's a Ghanaian now, we say it is not bet but bat. So that is the reality of language everywhere. It's the reality of language everywhere that there will be dialects, and beyond dialects, there will be idiolects of individuals speaking in different ways, such that a group starts speaking in a slightly different way, to the extent that if you go to Akapame, which is the westmost extremity of Yoruba in Togo, and go to Lokoja, which is the eastmost extremity of Yoruba, around the Niger-Benue confluence, you might find that understanding may be difficult. The same thing, if you go to, if you hear the Scots speak English, you think, oh, with the Welsh is even a lot more, come and sit by here. But the Scots, it's like you are chewing guguru, bang, grrr, grrr, grrr. I mean, for a long time, they didn't allow them to speak on radio and television. But recently, they brought them. There's valid. All accents are valid. All dialects. Okay. When I went to Scotland as a young person, they had jokes like, it's a broch brech molech neck to neck. It's a broad, bright moonlight night to night.
Wow.
And that's still English. So that Ondo is different from Ekiti is not anything new. Even with Igbos, why is different from some Igbos will say Miri, some people will say Mili. We go to Hausa. I mean, I have a friend who speaks fluent Hausa, and when we were doing, going around doing election job, I wanted to flaunt her. They said, Kananchi, he's speaking like Kano people.
Wow.
That's actually one of the excuses for this seeking reversal of instruction, native language instruction in schools, that there are too many dialects. Yeah. And in my mind,
you don't teach in dialects, you teach in language.
In language.
There's a difference between language and dialect. And even it is usually said that sometimes in situations of conflicts like this, they say that a language is a dialect that has an army and a navy. Because once you have somebody fighting for this dialect, it becomes go and look at you don't need to be able to read it. Look at the Swedish Bible and look at the Finnish Bible. You'll be surprised. They are almost the same language. You see this, what you see, there are the very, very slight differences, yet they claim to be two different languages because there's political will in it, there's economy to back it, because Swedish is the language that produced Ericsson. That is the telephone of the world today. Finnish is the language that produced Nokia.
Yeah.
Finnish, 6 million people. Swedish, 10 million people. Yoruba, 40 million people.
See?
Please, we'll take your questions now.
Thank you. Uncle, please, can you step up so that, okay.
Okay.
It's a privilege to be here and to ask this question, which I wanted to ask for a long time. Because I believe you are one of the very few people in Yoruba land who know the answer. Why do you think it was imperative in the eyes of the missionaries of those days not only to know the language, the Yoruba language or Igbo or Hausa, but to know Aroko? That's one. I know this is important because my grandmother actually was raised in the household of David and Anna Hindra. And she was one of the first to go to UMC in 1935.
send her Aroko.
Aroko. Why do you think that is so? That's my question.
Those people that called missionary that came here, they were not Yeye people. They were people who were properly trained before they sent them onto mission fields. They had solid education. If we look at some of the things they did, we just use a broad paintbrush and say it's what do you call it now? That they intentionally did. No. Some of it is their ignorance too. But what they came to communicate, they must be able to speak to the people in their language. There was a lady called Anna Killam. She was a Quaker, came with the CMS in Sierra Leone, and all her ambition was to set up education in the language of the people. So in Sierra Leone, they now look around, they found that the largest number of ex-slaves, emancipados there, were Yoruba people. So she decided to now learn the Yoruba language and set up classes for women in Yoruba. And the first day that she taught the women in Yoruba, she went back home and wrote in her diary, Lord, let now thy servant depart in peace, for my eyes have seen the promise. That she has achieved what she came to this world to achieve. That was the kind of enthusiasm with which those people took our languages. A lot of all what our neo-intellectuals say about they didn't translate engineering books into Yoruba. The Bible was translated in the Yoruba Bible Society of Nigeria. What is the Society of Engineers doing? So now to go directly to the question, these people were not, they studied the language, they knew the language, then they discovered that there are certain elements of semiotics that these people are using to communicate deep information. They are using to code information because the value of information is determined to a large extent by the ease with which a deserving recipient gets it and the difficulty by which an undeserving recipient gets it. So when you have a coding system, you have a system that can put language in a form where those who deserve to understand understand easily, and those who do not deserve to understand will just be hearing and hearing. They will not perceive. So those people, they knew that Aroko is very, very powerful encryption system, probably equal in value or probably even better in value than some of the encryption systems that they used to fight the Second World War, for which people like Alan Turing became famous. So they knew that whatever the people used to communicate, there were about 3 or 4 slave riots in which the communication, that is in Americas, in the middle, Haiti, where the communication, the arrangements for the riots were conducted with talking drums. And because it could go long distance, so when the riot starts, then they send to another slave camp, please send some armed men. Say, we can't send our own to her side. They say, how did these people communicate? And from one slave camp to the other, they didn't allow movement. But these people will sit down at night, they'll be dancing, they'll be beating drums. They didn't know that they were talking to the other people. So day, we will strike at so time. So there was a time that they banned the use of drums In they started knowing that it was drums they were using. At the time they said if the drum is if it is vigorous, it is war. If it is gentle, it is naming ceremony. They didn't know it is language. It's a day.
Then.
So, and look, all those of us in Nigeria, 500 and something languages, only one is not a tone language, which means they can all to some extent be spoken with drums. And we abandon all that. Yes, just imagine how stupid it looks. Something that I argued that before Alexander Graham Bell, talking drums must have been the fastest means of telecommunications. It was faster than homing pigeons, faster than Pony Express, faster than human beings carrying the messages, to the extent that in those days, in colonial days in Nigeria, when the DO or one of these officers is going from one place to other to go and do something, those who know will have signaled, it's coming, oh. And they were surprising them. Why? How do they know? How do they know? There was a time in Lagos too when they banned drumming, ostensibly for reasons of noise pollution. But those who know that there's a lot behind it. So those people, not only did they understand Aroko, they understood the Eno of Bata, because there's a whole elaborate language under this, apart from the Shagye that all these Fuji people play, there's Eno Bata, which is fundamental communication system.
So, okay, one more question. Please go ahead, sir.
Well, as always, a pleasure to be here to learn from you. My question is about Ifa.
In a church.
Yes.
This is new.
Okay.
You are a very boisterous, unapologetic Christian. Yet, you devoted a lot of time, a lot of your effort, a lot of your intellectual ability in the past like 10 years. Not only to study Ifa, but to
50 years actually.
the results that I am seeing have been astounding in the past 5 years. The media exposure now. Now, the point I find it funny that some of the people who take you on in your understanding, the depth of understanding of the fact, are actually practitioners who view it more as a mystical, mythical, religious system. Ìṣẹ̀ṣe. And a lot of people cannot think to it. I can tell you that some Christians cannot think to it because the selling point is that, like they say, they still say it like 3 years ago, ìṣẹ̀ṣe lànà. That, that is what you are, that's what you should do, and that's what paves the way for you. Now, I'm asking that question because you are a cultural advocate and you've done a lot of work in this research. And I'd like to learn more about what you think about it as a religious system and what you think of it as something definitely more than that. Like you said before, another forum, a knowledge management system rather than something that should be worshipped. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You started by saying I am an unapologetic Christian and I studied Ifa. So was Isaac Newton, an unapologetic Christian who dedicated his life to study physics, mathematics, and a lot of things. Ifa is no more than physics and mathematics to me. Probably little more. One of the most important mathematical equations in the world is the Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras was both a philosopher and a mystic because he had two schools. He had what you call the acousmaticoi and the mathematicoi. The acousmaticoi were the people who, whenever he talks, hey, Baba, oh, and then they memorize what he says and they go and say it to other people and they take it religiously. The mathematicoi were the one who, Pythagoras, they say, really?
The question.
But if we look at it from this point of view, don't you think? And then they went, and it is by doing that that a lot of Western science was distilled out of ancient knowledge. I believe that we have a lot of deep knowledge in what our forebears did. Our forebears engaged their world scientifically, and they produced a lot of scientific knowledge. But like I always say, efficacy devoid of explicability is the seed bed of mysticism. When something works, each time you do it, it works. But you don't understand how it works. Then you say, I'm learning. You mystify it. And anybody that seeks to understand it will say, what is deja? Not deja. Now, how did we get there? After 300 years of slavery, in which the intellectuals, the budding intellectuals, those who are supposed to take knowledge from the aging sages, pass them down to the next generation, were taken away and used as labor. People who are intellectuals, people who are cerebral, they took them away and they were used just as labor. So for 300 years, there was that gap between existing knowledge, the know what, the know why, and the know how of it, such that those who are coming behind just know that it works. They don't know how and why it works. So that's how we ended up in mysticism, to the extent that it even now sounds like a badge of honor that the knowledge is mystical. And if you say, it is scientific, how can you be comparing it to Oyinbo something? No, science is not Oyinbo something. Science is not Oyinbo something. It is just one way that the Oyinbo have expressed themselves, and we lost how to express ourselves that way. Haven't had 300 years of slavery and about 200 years of colonialism. That's why sometimes when you look at those who are taking slaves to Cuba, Brazil, Haiti, Guadalupe, you see that their understanding of this, our knowledge system, is slightly different because they didn't suffer the colonization that came after slavery. So they took that knowledge, they knew, and they tried to give it to their children. Even though, because it's oral, the knowledge is passed by orature. So it couldn't stand some of the rigor of slavery. So they lost a bit. We too lost a lot in colonization. It couldn't stand the rigor of colonization. But the amount of it that still lasts in even the orature speaks volumes about how much was in it, that having lost so much, we can still get some. I mean, when I think my first video that established, that said these things, was which I titled Mathematics of Ifa. And I was able to make connections between the whole concept of randomization, the whole concept of sampling, the whole concept of probabilistic distributions, to the extent that when a babalawo holds up his okwele, before he throws it, he verbalizes ma fi be pere o, ma fi re pe bi o, ma mumulu mu o, ma fo lo fo wa lo gere nta oba fe mo loju ariran. All pointing to the fact that this system can be fallible. Right. And that is the one of the fundamentals of science.
Right.
Fallibility. Falsifiability. And they realize it. And they have found how to say Bonjiri ọ̀la má rí bẹ́ẹ̀ ló ń babaláwo dí àrùn ní babaláwo. So if we continue to look at our past mystically, you won't see these things I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But if you open your mind and you look at it, you will start seeing important things. Important things. Only yesterday, somebody was interviewing me and he said, what is the meaning of Aworo Shasha? And incidentally, I've studied that thing extensively. It's evidence that the Yoruba had dealt with classical philosophy long before the classical period in Europe. Because it is classical philosophy that says that knowledge is either empirical or rational. Empirical, you observe, you see. Rational, you think, you infer. Ro. Observe, think, and pick. You observe, you pick before you shall. So, even though in this mystical interpretation of our past, you say Aworo Shasha is a priest. As far as I'm concerned, Aworo Shasha is a philosopher, is a professor, is an academic, is an intellectual. A person who has learned the process of observation,
thinking through
it, rationalization, and then picking the ones that work. Which is also the basis of the Yoruba word for culture, Asha. Àwọn tí àṣà nítorí pé wọ́n wọ̀, àwọn tí ò wọ̀ ní èèwọ̀.
Wow. Wow. Lord.
So, if I may,
please go on, sir.
As your student for the past 10 years, I have been able to help quite a number of people of my generation to separate the science from
Mystic.
what mystical elements have been infused when it comes to IU. As you may know, because of this gap, this divide that happened as a result of 300 years of slavery, people began to ascribe IU to Shango. They say that is Shango's game. But the reason why you don't play IU when the thunderstorm is approaching is because in Yoruba communities they play IU under trees. And I've seen it many times. If you were under a tree and lightning should strike, it doesn't matter whether it is 2 or 20 that are under that tree. All of you will feel it, and maybe a few will survive. So, in order not to encourage people to play, IU is one game that can so consume you that you forget your environment. They made it into a war that you should not play when the thunderstorm is operating. But I think I know enough physics now to explain to my children that the reason why you don't do this is because you really want to avoid this law. Even though you come from illegal.
Let's type YouTube. Type YouTube. What?
It doesn't matter.
One. O.
If you violate this natural law, this will be.
YouTube is coming. What? YouTube is here now. Oh wow. Let's type. Start with A, Alfie.
And incidentally, I have spent the last 40 years teaching students computer programming, computer science, and particularly artificial intelligence with IU.
Wow.
So if you then now surround IU with Shango Mystique, then you have taken away the tool by which I have taught no less than 30 students who are all over the world now in high places with the knowledge they got in computing from IU. Because IU, unlike chess or Go, which are the classics they use for artificial intelligence, all these chess and Go are not games of number. IU is a game of number. So you don't need to find any complex way of making it, giving it to the computer. It just becomes, yes, native to the computer, because the mantra is anything you want to tell the computer, turn it into a number. And IU is number through and through already. So, and all the basic principles, even the basic principles of probability theory, I use IU to teach it. And it has worked well for over 40 years.
Wow.
So if we continue to mystify our past and see our past as a mystical, we will just continue to deny ourselves of materials we can use to move into the future. And what we normally will now do is say, hey, you see those Oyinbo, they are wicked. They stole our IFA and used it to make computer. But meanwhile, we don't want to look at the IFA towards making it to the computer.
Right.
But we are blaming those who we claim stole it. Some people have suggested that Leibniz, one of the people that systematized binary arithmetic, learned from some IFA people that went to Egypt. I mean, people like saying all these kind of things if it makes them feel good. I mean, it could be true, it could, I don't know. But there are reports all over the world. There is no time, there's nothing like an idea whose time has come. If the idea of something, if the time of something has come, if it comes into your vicinity and you treat it with the levity,
It will move
it
elsewhere.
will move elsewhere,
Yes.
and it will get done. and you will regret it.
Yes.
So if, the computer definitely is based on the same principle on which IFA is based. I mean, that I can tell you with all the mathematics knowledge at my disposal and my computing knowledge. That they stole it from us, that's not my concern. Whether they stole it or didn't steal it, that is not, for me, that's not the issue. The issue is there is more where that came. Are we engaging it?
Right.
To save the world from some of the ignorance that the global scientific community is still dealing with, problems that we still don't have answers to, that some of which our forebears might have had answers to, but these 300 years of slavery has denied us of such knowledge.
As Uncle was speaking just now, I just remembered I was reading a
You're
book.
lucky you have uncle, you have daddy.
Thank God. I have brother. Okay, so as he was speaking, I just remembered a book I read a few months ago that someone was talking about how our ancestors in Yoruba land or even in different tribes, what we call Ewo, you know, that it's not that it is forbidden. It's actually to protect something, like he spoke about the Ayolokmo during the thunderstorm. So this person was talking about this Igbo that they don't enter. What do they call it? Igbo evil forest and all of that. That they will say Igbo Risha, that you don't farm. I mean, you don't farm there, you don't hunt there, you don't do this, you don't do that. And this person was, so I'm just saying it, maybe you could disprove or just agree with it. This person was saying that it probably would have that mystic or mysterious aspect to it, that, but more than that, they were actually practicing environmental conservation.
Oh, definitely. For example, I read the nursery rhyme,
Yes.
indiscriminate.
Yes.
Amongst the guild of hunters in Yoruba, if you go into the Ijala, which is the body of the knowledge of hunting, you will find that three categories, three states. There are three states in which you are forbidden to kill an animal. You are not allowed to kill a mating animal. If the animal is mating, you can't. You are not allowed to kill a pregnant animal, and you're not allowed to kill an animal with young ones following it. You know, when a hunter goes into the forest to hunt, sometimes they hide on a tree for hours. They call it igun, climbed. That is where Ebenezer Obey's song, Ọdẹ tó ń ṣọ́ Elédùmarè, orí igun lómi àkúsí. So the hunter that wants to hunt Olódùmarè, he will stay there on the igun and die there because he will not find. So the igun is where you climb and stay and watch, have a panoramic view. So if a hunter has been on igun for about 2-3 hours and he sees some movement in the bush and he sees a pair of horns coming out and he shoots and then goes there, finds out, wow, tole ni, it's a pregnant animal. He has to go home and atone for killing a pregnant animal in error. Okay, now, that because kò wọ̀ kéèyàn máa pa ẹran tọ̀lẹ̀tọ̀lẹ̀, ọ̀lẹ̀ is fetus. Ọ̀lẹ̀ is the Yoruba word for fetus.
So appropriation.
Kéèyàn máa pa ẹran tọ̀lẹ̀tọ̀lẹ̀. So he has to go and make amends at home. So that is a disincentive for killing pregnant animals, mating animals, and animals with children.
Young.
But see how long it took Western civilization to realize environmental conservation. When I was a child, environmental conservation was not a regular phrase. I know the time when environmental conservation became an issue. I know the time when we started talking of
Climate.
just participatory and sustainable society, climate change, and all this. Those people have been observing. And when you now look at Igala, you see it as a religious verses.
Right.
So we'll just take one last question before we call it a wrap tonight. Anyone with a question? Just one. Thank you.
Yeah, can are we allowed to ask questions? We online?
So one of the reasons why I began to follow Baba or Dr. Adegbola is because I see a mini me in him. So I would, so over the years, I would, be interested in history. I'm interested in French. I'm interested in Latin. I'm interested in language, culture, identity. But I don't know. I think it's going to become a challenge for me because then I want to also dwell in the academia and still want to be all the things that I want to be. Unfortunately or fortunately, the academia boxes you to a particular department or field of study. How have you been able to navigate that over the years? And how would you even encourage or advise me to navigate, this
Multiple passions.
yeah. And then in this state too, I do not like to be overwhelmed. So if I'm focusing on this thing or this area for 4 or 5 years, I'll give it my to the next, area or field of study. But the academia does not allow you to, so it's a mental, physical, and academic challenge that I am going to face.
I think what I can say to that is, first and foremost, whatever you find to do it with all your might. Do it the best you can. Because if you do it the best you can and you are not able to do anything else, at least you will be known by that. You will be known as being good at that. So if you then find yourself at another level, do it the best you can. So whatever you do, whatever your hands find to do it the best you can, and you'll then have a trail of successes. And when people box you in, well, think outside the
work to have something drama or theater in it so that it can count for promotion. So that's I'm just trying to add to what she's saying
that's
because
part
it's what
of the
I'm going through.
problem with our academic education systems. Just like I said earlier on, that we denominate our scholarship by foreign standards. For us, charity begins abroad.
So we have one question online. We'll be reading it shortly. And so please, apologies to the prof. We didn't omit your question. We just needed to take questions from our audience here, then move to
online audience. Okay, so the question is in Yoruba. I'll try my best because it doesn't have AMI. If the diacritical marks were there, I would be able to read it better.
Okay.
So he says, my question to Prof. Ẹ jọ̀wọ́, kí ni àrokò ní ṣe pẹ̀lú ìlà-àlà? I don't know if...
Ìlà-àlà?
Ìlà-àlà, okay.
Ìlà-àlà?
Ìlà-àlà, okay, because there's no AMI, so I can't say. So, ẹ jọ̀wọ́, kí ni àrokò ní ṣe pẹ̀lú ìlà-àlà? Nítorí pé ẹni tí a fi àrokò rán lè má mọ ìtumọ̀ ohun tí ó gbé rán. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ẹni tí ó gba àrokò pẹ̀lú gbọ́dọ̀ ronú jinlẹ̀ láti mọ ohun tí wọ́n ń wí. Báwo ni ó ṣe jẹ́ tí àlá
Àlà lílá ṣe
farajọ àrokò?
Okay. What the person is saying is that àrokò is encrypted, dreams are encrypted. And he's asking what's the relationship between dreams and
Àrokò.
I'm going to make a confession. Dreams to me is Nollywood. I'm not saying for everybody. I have friends who come to me, who bring their dreams to me, and we talk about it, we pray about it, and we find solutions. But to me, when I dream, I just enjoy the dream and laugh. And when it's stupid, I say bad plot. So I personally don't take dreams that seriously. That's me. It's confession time now. But there's very, very important nexus because both are encrypted. And I think the relationship there is that the two demand deep thought. The two demand for you to consider it carefully. Àrokò demands training. Àrokò is a human system. It was designed. It's an encryption system. There are you can learn it. You can learn it. But dreams, I don't know how easy it is to learn dreams, but well, there are ways to get to understand your dreams from experience. When your dreams point to some kind of things, you see a kind of trend in what you dream and what you make of it, yes. And once you see that dream, you can begin to say, okay, this is the direction. And when you have trusted friends, trusted colleagues who you can share with, who are not just out to impress you that I am spiritual and this that you can both contemplate together and consider and engage together. I believe this is a way you can deal with dreams. And if I won't start talking like I talk on Sunday mornings, then the real solution to dream is to consult God.
So I think just to cap it up now, one last question.
I also have one last question.
Yeah, one last question. So that would
I also have one last question.
So for me now, the question is 70 years this far. What's next for Dr. Tunde Adegbola?
I told you earlier on that I still don't understand the 70 yet. I do not see any epoch. I do not see any threshold. So life continues.
Right.
I just pray that my health continues to bear what I want to be able to do by the grace of God.
Amen.
And I just continue. I left paid employment in 1984. So I am living a life of Karika shop. Ètò bá rí ló máa jẹ. So I'm not likely to want to stop now because I must continue to carry cash shop. So what next? I still have aspirations. I have scientific problems I'm still dealing with. I'm still I'm still driving at discovering the secrets of some of the things in our language and our languages. And I mean, let me just say this, that a lot of the things that I've said today, I'm using Yoruba as an example because that's what I know. By definition, anything that any people, by people I mean community, linguistic group, ethnic group, do, and that their generations have not perished, must be right. There's something right about it that's sustaining them. So that we don't have an example in other cultures means we have not sat down to look at it as keenly as I've looked at Yoruba. So I call on people of various other ethnic groups to look deeply into their past. Divorce mysticism. There are some things are mysterious. That means beyond our capacity to understand. That doesn't make them mystical. Because when something is mystical, you have defined it. But if it's mysterious, I can't understand it yet. We must be able to make a difference between something being mysterious and something being mystical. We must, we talk glibly, but something, spiritual things, we don't really understand them. That doesn't mean that everything we don't understand is spiritual. Some of the things we don't understand, we only don't understand yet. And when we understand, we know not take it away from spiritual and put it to natural. So we should engage with an open mind and seek with rigor to be able to get solutions.
Seek with rigor to get solutions. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, so my final question, it's not a question actually, because, having read through your achievements and then seen at least a bit of what your practice, and then of course there's still a lot more to read and find out about your work. And of course that is part of what inspired the lady in green to ask that question, that you could combine all these.
She's my student.
Oh, okay.
She's my PhD
That's
student.
how we're able to combine all those. And even I could relate with that question. So I guess what I really am asking for is, with all these multiple passions that a lot of young people have, even multiple aspirations, enthusiasms, you have gone through it, you've been able to make a whole lot of it, and we can say, oh, he's a polymath. What were the challenges that you faced? Because if we just look at it with the way you've spoken and what we've read and the videos we've seen on YouTube, it's just so sweet and looks so easy, and I can move from one thing to the other, divorce one. I'm asking if you could tell us.
I once made a presentation. I said, my life as a failed musician.
Wow.
And because when I started, when I had the ambition for music, I grew up in the church. I wanted to be an organist. And I started playing the harmonium. You pedal, you blow air and play. And it sounded good and all that. Then I tried to upgrade to play 2-3 manual organs with pedals and all that, and I just couldn't coordinate it. And I have friends who just go and you hear the organ sounding like an orchestra. So I gave up. I then decided I would be a pianist. So when I started playing piano, then I see people playing Tchaikovsky. people playing a Flight of the Bumblebee.
Yeah.
And the piano is sounding as though a bee is humming.
Yeah.
I gave up. So I took the synthesizer, keyboard, I play and play, and I saw people like Corey Henry, and they make the keyboard weep. I gave up.
Okay.
So I went and started with a fingerstyle jazz guitar, and I enjoyed it. And because I have a background in organ, keyboards, I learned to play the guitar. I learned to play hymns on the guitar, play hymns, all the chords, all the notes, like you are hearing it on a piano. But apart from the fact that the timbre of the guitar is different from the piano, you might think I was playing a piano. Then I met Tommy Emmanuel, Chet Atkins. I gave up. So that's why if people see me today and don't know that I'm a musician, it's because I have failed at these levels. But all these failures, which I now go to the next one, well, at least I made records. When I was an undergraduate, there were only 3 or 4 recording studios in Nigeria. And people will come from the east, from the north, to come and record in Lagos. And they tell them, when you get to Lagos, go to Unila, go and get today, we'll play keyboard for you. I mean, I was that on demand. So, now, one area I failed and failed gallantly is in business. I set up a business. I did it for many years. It worked. But I noticed that once I had competition, I couldn't cope. When I set up the first microcomputer company in Ibadan in 1985. And I was teaching people to do word processing, spreadsheets, teaching them how to do, because there was no, Windows didn't exist. You need to know the command to be able to run the computer. I was teaching all that. And I did all that, and making lots of money. And each time somebody graduated from us, we went to set up another computer company, teaching the same thing. After some time, I couldn't compete. So I moved to something else. So each time I was out-competed, I moved to something. Maybe I didn't have enough tenacity to read Yoruba. Consistency is the elixir of success. You have to stay with it. You have to. Maybe I didn't have enough of that because of this, my being there, done that. But I know that I have not succeeded in business. So by the time I finished my business career, I moved into, I run like a not-for-profit. And what I do is write proposals for funding for the projects we do. And I've been quite comfortable there. And so definitely, I confess, I failed in business.
Okay, so failed in business, did well from one musical instrument to another, except you have not been able to meet up with certain pros and just as, nah, this is not my thing. But definitely in all the areas that we've seen you thrive, you've been consistent, and you've always had that passion to know more. Even now, you said there are still some science projects that you're still, working on after 7 decades. That some people just want to rest and go and chill and go on vacations, but you are still applying, your mind, the cerebral, everything, to transforming your world within, your sphere of influence. And so that tells me something, that consistency, like you said, is the elixir of
both, whichever way.
Both for and of success. And it's really, it's like he said when he was introducing the whole program, or whenever he was doing his MC thing, that we would leave more inspired and even better. Even though I'm sitting down here, I think I've gained so much, to keep pushing, because sometimes you look at very elderly people who have achieved so much like you have, and you are wondering that, God, when? How? How would I be able to do this? But hearing this and knowing that, even sharing that story about finishing, electrical engineering and realizing that you couldn't fix a radio, and then you went to learn, that's humility, which a lot of people don't have. Thinking that, okay, I graduated from this, I don't know, but to go and learn it from the artisans or from the Onisha War becomes a big deal for some people. But this is saying that when you have a passion about something, you go all the way, not minding whatever egbin might come from it, because you said you later earned their respect at the Radionic workshop. So thank you so much, sir, for this very, very enlightening moment. And thank you, everyone, for the contributions.
Thank you very much.
I wish I could say at least sing for us now. And we have another grandpa here that you said you've been doing music since a way. Give us a tune, Joe, Shanuwa.
The keyboard.
Give us something. F1
There's keyboard.
There's keyboard. Oh yeah. Please give us something. Let's have that moment. Yes, sir. Keyboard. Don't escape, sir. Give us something. Let's have a feel of what you do, at least for
Angela,
our away.
What a shade of pale.
Yeah. Please, a round of applause. So that it's not a failed musician. Not a failed musician.
Play with a compliment.
All right, please, once again, a round of applause for Dr. Tunde Adegbola. And please, another special round of applause for our lead moderator. Yes. Miss Olani Keonimi, say thank you very much for doing this with us. Please, let's celebrate Dr. Tunde. We thank you for coming. And yes, so right about now, not to waste any more time, we're just moving on to the closing remarks. And please, once again, let's celebrate the festival director, Ibadan Book and Arts Festival, Servio Dadamosi. Please, a round of applause.
Good evening, sirs. Good evening, Mars. Thank you so much for coming out here today, for coming to spend quality time with us as we celebrate Dr. Tunde Adegbola. Yes, at the point I was unsure about how many people we would have here today. Yes, we did a lot of publicity, had this featured in newspapers, had this featured on blogs and all. But maybe this is also an indication of the state of our nation, where I'm sure if it was any of the pop stars or any of the content makers online that was just passing by and decided to stop here for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, there would be a stampede here. But when we listen to people like him or see and hear about the things that they have done through the years, it sort of gives one the strength. One is able to gather the strength somehow to say, maybe someday in the future, all of this will come together and make sense. So we'll keep doing this. We will. I don't think that, like Professor Niyo Shudari said last Saturday at the event we had for him, he says that he said that we have to, against all odds, keep hope alive. So that said, I am thankful to everybody who has come here today to come and grace this occasion, to listen, to ask questions, and to learn from the experiences and the journey of Dr. Tunde Adegbola. We're thankful to the New Streams Conference and Cultural Center, who gladly have been hosting a month-long exhibition in his honor. There is, of course, the exhibition still continues for the rest of the month in the other hall at the entrance of these premises. So it is open every day, and you can come in and you can see some of those. You know, it's different when you walk through an exhibition and then you get to see some of the items. It's the story told and experienced differently. You're able to see landmarks and, crucial moments in his journey of becoming. So I'm calling everybody here who has not had a chance to experience the exhibition to please try and make time so that you come and experience it. It closes on the last day of the month, so we still have more than a week. It is still open for more than a week. And also, at the exhibition hall, there is a book about his life that is also available. It's on display and it is available for sale at the exhibition venue. So please, yes, we hope to see you here, and please also help us spread the news about the exhibition. Now, I'm thankful to everybody who, in one way or the other, have helped us in putting this together. What do? Okay, we are Knowledge Publishing. We are an independent book publishing company. Through the years, we have been lucky to work with some of the fastest, best writers in Nigeria practicing today, and we have the awards and the recognitions for it. I think that it's virtually every award that there is for quality writing in Nigeria, our writers have won, from the lowest to the biggest of them, and we have done it twice. But it is gatherings like this that help us to not just understand what is happening in the society, but to also discover these gems of writings and writers that we work with through the years. And we hope that we will be able to keep this alive and keep doing it. Okay, so finally, so that I don't take time much further, we're putting together the first Ibadan Book and Arts Festival. We have scheduled it. It's a roughly small thing, and so we're talking at every opportunity that we get. We're talking about it. It's been a dream. It's been in the works. We stop it. Life happens to us, and then we come back to it on and off. But this time around, we have put a definite date to it. That's October 24 and 25 at the International Conference Center, University of Ibadan. Now, we are still curating it. We are still putting it together. So outside of this event, we are going to reach out to you to ask for support in 1 million ways. Of course, finances, that's the predictable one that most Nigerians would expect us to readily make requests for. But we know that if working in this sector for well over a decade has taught us anything, it is the fact that there is a lot of wealth, maybe not in finance, but of course, there is hardly anybody in this sector or in this country or even on the international scene that we want to see, that we can't find somebody who can be a good link, who can do a good introduction for us and then make it happen. So in one way or the other, we would be coming and reaching out in the coming weeks for support, for contact, for helping curating different sessions and panels of the festival. And so, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are grateful. We are grateful that you have chosen to spend this evening with us. And we trust that you would help spread the news and also events that are to come. Okay, even walk to the exhibition venue and have that experience of it. What do you think? So I think that we should spend maybe the next 15 to 30 minutes at the exhibition venue, have that experience, so that when we tell others about it, it's from a place of having experienced and seen it ourselves. Thank you so much, everyone. We are super grateful.